Yeah.
Oh, no, we won't forget this. We might not even get to use it.
All right, let's go.
Te agradezco que me lo digas porque yo activo y jugando voy a pelear por estar ahí, pero tampoco quiero estar por estar.
¿Qué onda con todo eso? ¿Qué onda con Chicharo? ¿Qué onda con Vela?
Te agradezco que me lo digas porque yo con Chino no tengo ningún problema, ni uno, cero, cero problema. Él y yo, en ese sentido, cuando ha habido cosas de pelear de negociar, de tal, de derechos de imagen, todo esto, pensamos igual. En lo único que no estamos de acuerdo son en las formas, ¿sabes? Al final, Chicharo tiene una forma de ser más explosiva, más de tirado para adelante, y yo soy un poco más político, por así decirlo, ¿no? Y es en lo único que no hemos estado de acuerdo en cierto momento. Que
And with that, we're going to start episode 326 of Cantina MX Football Podcast. Joel, what are your thoughts on Guardado's comments there about Chicharo not being in la selección?
Well, this is why we use that clip because it confirms certain rumors. And it's something we've talked about here before on keeping tabs on stuff and how usually years later you unearth some of these truths come out. And usually in interviews like this, a couple years have passed and the guard is down and they let a couple things slip, or maybe they're no longer that important. And so there's been this whole, discussion about why Hernandez is not with the national team. And one of his one of the reasons it was because of, and we've mentioned it here, is when he it was during the World Cup, the 2018 World Cup, I think right after they beat Germany, and they were trying to negotiate the rights, the image rights, in which Guardado said it right there, derechos de imagen. And, he talked about derechos de imagen and fighting for that stuff. And so it sort of confirms that it did happen. And I think that was one of the reasons, he still stayed with the national team after that, and he played, but we do know now that that did happen, and to me it sort of confirms it that it did go like Guardado started saying the way he went about it was the wrong way. So I will say that he did go about it the way the rumor came out right after the match. Um, and so that was one of the reasons. The second reason was the two girls they took to it was during some friendly games, I believe, and they had two games, like one in I think Mexico, and then one I can't remember where, but it was two games, and that's what I don't know if you remember, Jaime. They got caught because the girls were like tweeting it or putting it on Instagram,
Oh, really?
and, and that they were showing they were in the same team as in the same hotel as the national team, and so they were saying that people cut on. They saw people that follow, and it's social media, so travels fast, and so then they put it together that they were the team was taking these girls along, and they're not supposed to have like you know that stuff, and especially in the hotel room, the concentración, um, and that was the you know one of the one of the major things that happened. The other rumor that's floated around was that he also had them travel on the on the team plane,
Oh, what?
and and that he got John De Luisa's wife booted to make room
Nah,
for
I
these
don't
girls.
believe that, bro.
And De Luisa is one of the main federativos. Hey, I'm starting to believe it. That's why I
You're
said
starting to unravel some pretty deep shit, man.
well, this stuff's been floating around, But that's why I say, like, if we keep tabs, later on you hear some of these interviews where they finally, give away some kernels of truth. I mean, this this thing that happened with with fighting for the derechos de imagen was 2018. That's 4 years. That's almost 4 years ago, where we're now hearing, at least from one player, that there was a fight for derechos de imagen. Um, and so, but the whole plane thing, hey man, maybe they didn't know who it was. I don't know what happened. Maybe she tried going in there, and I'm talking about De Luisa's wife. But I've been hearing that it's John De Luisa that has vetoed Cheech, and
Oh,
that some of the other players went and apologized. But Cheech has been more of the, you know, he hasn't given in. And Guardado sort of says how his attitude is. He says, I'm more political. This guy's more like, I guess, more confrontational. And I guess he kind of became that way because at one point, Cheech was,
very
he was the
humble.
main thing. No, no, I mean, he was humble, but it gets to the point where he's like a big swinging dick. He's like the main
Oh,
star when you talk about Mexican soccer, it's Chicharo. It's
yeah.
like he was like the main
He
dude
was the poster
for a
boy.
while. Yeah, he was, yeah, and so who knows, man? Maybe Cheech just needs to go and apologize, or I don't know, he
I
needs
don't
to
think
work
he's gonna
something out.
apologize. I think at this point of his career, he's not gonna be the bigger person. I mean, we're talking about a guy who like literally walked out on his wife and kids.
Ah, that's true, man. That's true. But if he wants that,
You
what
know what I
will be
mean?
for him?
He's
Third,
capable.
third World Cup.
He's he's capable of doing anything at this point, man. But apologizing, I don't think. I think he's got too much of an ego.
Yeah, yeah, that could be. But I mean, if he wants another World Cup
And
in his thing,
Guardado in the clip, further on in the clip, also make he says that Ochoa and him have no problem with him whatsoever.
with
And
with Chicharo.
yeah, with Chicharo, and like he says, oh, I'm not like calling him on the phone and saying, hey, what's up, man? But he said that like the the situation with the wives is different. So you know what I mean? Like if you're a family man and you got a wife and kids, like do you really want your man to be hanging out with a player like Chicharo? Like probably not. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and let's remember this happened. This whole partying happened before the World Cup. I don't know if you remember that they got caught by the media. They had the party with the Scorts, and that Chicharo wasn't there, but Ochoa was.
Oh.
And then Chicharo later had to like, because he stayed quiet, and so that's the other thing. But that was before the World Cup, and you causing these problems, and then later on, like like with Tata now at the helm, you keep having these same problems, and these were problems that they tried eradicating back when Marquez was the captain, back when Nestor was he was like the GM, and he called him out on it, and he was trying to impose like stricter stuff, and then Marquez had a letter written, and and Nestor ended up quitting because the Federativos were like, all right, we're gonna go with Marquez. We need you to apologize. And Nestor was like, I'm not apologizing. We all agreed on this. I mean, it was Nestor's idea, but he put it up to the board to vote on it, and they voted. They all voted on yeah. And so yeah, I think that's been one of the issues that holds back Mexico. The whole, and this discussion's been had a lot of times of how much does partying affect a national team? When you're like in a tournament,
I don't
is
think
it
it
gonna
does.
affect you? I think to some players it does, and to some it doesn't. Because think about it, you have some of these guys already have families, so if they get caught, that's kind of the mental part where it's messing with you.
Uh huh.
That now your wife knows you cheated on her, or your kids,
They signed
or
up for it,
you
man. They know what they're
you're
getting
very
into. You
you're
married
very
a
close to
famous footballer. What do you expect?
your yeah. But what about kids? And then there's like parents, so there's all this other stuff. And yeah, for some players it's like, whatever. You got the Romarios and the Ronaldinhos. And then for other players it could affect their career really bad.
But I feel like in the world of football, this is not a problem that's exclusive to Mexico. Every national team
Oh,
deals with like scandals and all that. French national team comes to mind. You know.
well, yeah, when they had that, I don't know which incident you're talking about, but Ribery was caught and they had like a 15-year-old girl
Yeah.
that was like a prostitute, and they would fly her around. Um, one of the one of the big ones that I remember was from the U.S. national team. Um, was with in '98 World Cup. They were doing this like strict concentración, you know, and I think this happened while they were already. Were they already in the World Cup or just before? But one of the players, he smashed on his teammate's wife.
Oh man.
It was I think Harks on Winalda. So Harks used to be like the captain for life. He was like uh, their top midfielder, and then that happened. They had to kick him out of the squad, and that team ended up doing bad. They didn't win any games. I think they lost two and drew one. Just horrible. They had just a horrible World Cup. And to the credit of the coach, he never said anything. And this dude was hated on for a long time until
Wow.
this truth came out. The truth came out that that whole incident just caused the team to crash. Which wasn't the same with France, right? Once that scandal stuff was going,
Yeah, they went
don't
through.
they crash out?
They just went through a lot. You know, they didn't have Ribery. I think they don't. They also didn't have Benzema, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
So I mean, yeah, man. I don't know. That's but I mean, I think that's one of the things I like about this podcast, man. We like to keep tabs, so when we find little kernels like this,
We
we
got
like to share
receipts.
them. Yeah, we like to share the receipts, man, and we listen to a lot of trash, so you, the listener, doesn't have to, because there is a lot of trash, man. You hear some of this stuff and it's just useless, but every now and then you'll find something good.
Man. Well, tonight we have quite an episode. A lot has happened since episode 325. And to me, it's all been really bad news. Not really much good news going on. Uh,
Oh yes,
Starting with the passing of Tomas boy. He passed away yesterday.
yeah, Jefe boy, he was 70 years old. He was gonna score the first goal for Tigres at their stadium. Um,
Really?
yeah, they were showing a clip of it from. It's like a free kick, very Roberto Carlos like. But yeah, Jefe boy, man, I must say I liked him at Chivas, man. Can say the same for my fellow Chilla hermanos. But yeah, he was up there in age, and I guess he got sick and then just didn't recover. Um, but I didn't think he was 70. I thought he was a bit younger.
He definitely danced like he wasn't 70.
That meme, yeah, that meme's gonna live on, Jaime. I think that's how a lot of people will
Yeah.
remember El Jefe Boy.
honestly, like I didn't know him as a player, and I heard as a player he's one of our greatest midfielders. Um,
Yeah, man. I mean, how many players have that nickname, El Jefe?
yeah, and he was the captain, right, of the
Yeah,
1986 World Cup.
and even over Hugo Sanchez.
That's crazy.
I mean, it would take some stones to hold on to that armband, because Hugo did come and was like, "Give me that." you know,
Yeah,
he wa- he wanted to come in as a, but Boy was like, "Dude, I'm always here."
yeah. Unfortunately, his reputation, or my, what's the word, impression of
Your
him
image,
was that
all impression.
he just wasn't a very good coach. You know, he was always one of those
Ah,
coaches that was on the carousel. He got hired and fired. I think the
I
only
have to
thing,
fight you on that, Jaime.
well, I mean, to be honest, he didn't win anything as a manager, and that's kind of how you that's how you grade a manager. And I think the only thing that you can say that he did was save Atlas from relegation. For
There
me,
you go. He did. He
that's
did, man.
the feather in his cap that he can say as a manager. But I'm looking at his at the silverware that he won as a manager, and the only thing he has to his name is Super Liga with Morelia in 2010.
Yeah, that's where he had some of his most success with Morelia. Um, and I think you know, I think he reached the final, or they went all the way to the semifinals. But he had a decent run with Morelia. He saved Atlas, and, and so those are two pretty good things. I think at Chivas was just a disaster. Just the way they hire him, and he's only going to coach the 4 games. Then they let him stay, and I don't think he was as bad as fans made him out to seem. But I don't think as you said, he didn't do much. So I'm not saying he's a great coach, but I also wouldn't say he was a bad coach. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we only had him for 16 matches at Guadalajara, and they weren't great. He only
Well,
averaged,
yeah, but
yeah, and
yeah, Ricky.
and to be fair, it's like he didn't have like a good squad, and it was kind of
No,
it was I'm not gonna judge him off of his time at Chivas. I know again he did a really good job at Atlas, and he did at Morelia. He had that team playing pretty well, 154 matches. But apart from that, man, he was kind of just always like thrown in there, kind of just to like be the interim coach while they hired a real coach. At least that was my impression of
dang.
him.
Yeah, that happens, man. That happens, and I think if you don't sometimes have the good agent, and then there's also the luck. How much luck are you gonna have with whatever squad you get? So that's the other thing, because short season, you get very little time to work, and then if it doesn't pan out right away, it's right away everyone's saying, "Oh, he sucks," or whatnot. But it's further from that.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to him. I think he was again, from what I've heard, from what I've seen, he was one of our best midfielders of all time. And yeah,
Yeah, man. It's always a bit like shocking when it's these personalities, because he was a personality within Liga MX where people knew him, and like you said, there's now the gif of him doing the little dance, and then he would be on Picante. So I think he was someone that I guess fans expect him to be around longer.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it does suck when all of a sudden that they're no longer around.
Yeah. And speaking of deaths, there was a pretty brutal incident in the Querétaro Atlas match. This is what everyone's been talking about. It's a pretty nasty stain on Mexican football this weekend. I was at work and I was like, "Oh, let me check out this game." And I turned it to do the edit, and I just saw like a bunch of like fans on the pitch, and I'm like, "What the hell happened?" And it looked like they just like invaded the pitch, but I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, "Oh, like there was like a fight or something, and they invaded the pitch, and they suspend the game." Like I didn't really think much of it until when I got off work and I was looking through Twitter and seeing like some of the images and videos of what actually went down, and
Oh man, yeah, they're very
it
graphic.
I couldn't sleep, man. Like it was hard to see that. But yeah, I guess during the Atlas Querétaro game, the floodgates opened, and normally the away fans are in a they're segregated from the rest of the fans. They're in a corner. They have fencing so the other fans can't get to them. But at one point in the game, the security decided to open up the floodgates, and all hell broke loose. There was a
Yes, let me add to that,
Yeah,
Jaime.
go ahead.
So, because there's a lot of video, man. That's the whole thing about social media now, and everyone pretty much is carrying a camera. Everybody's recording. So, the Querétaro, one of their barra bravas was like beefing it with the Atlas barra. It's the barra 51, which I think is their biggest one, their main their main support group, and they had been just like talking shit, and they were I don't know how this happened, um, but I think Querétaro the Querétaro barra had organized it to go and confront these guys because usually the barras are stationed opposite, not not next to each other. And right here, it looked like they were next to each other. And there is a video where it says, "Here's where it started,"
Mm-hmm.
and you could see a fence, and this is like below the stands when you walk up to your seat, and you could see the fence that's dividing it, and the fans are just like looks like they're in jail. And these dudes are all like bald and tattooed, and they're just talking shit back and forth. And then it turns into like a WWF match. You see some, you see a Querétaro guy come in
Chairs
with a
and
chair.
ladders and
Nobody does. He comes with a chair and he slams two guys with the chair. And I guess he saw too much wrestling, man, because there was like 10 people there, and they just gang up on him and they're beating him. And as they're whooping their ass, the Querétaro managed to break through the gate. To me, it looks like it was opened. Um, and so it opens up, and now the Atlas guys are outnumbered, and they just, right there, they get rushed, and they're just beating the bejesus out of them. Um, and so and I think after that, they started just going after all of the Atlas, going after like the Barra guys. Um, so here's two things that have come to light. So one of them is some that the stadium security for Querétaro, that some of their members, that some of the security are actually with the Querétaro Barra Brava.
oh wow.
So there was rumors that, not rumors, there was some claims from some of the Atlas that the securities were opening the gate and were even handing uh, those guys weapons. And that was one of the things that um that happened. And supposedly, yeah, they opened the gates and the players went through and they assaulted a lot of the players from, not the players, a lot of the Atlas fans, but not just the regular fans. I think they were just targeting the 51, La Barra 51. Um, I had this thing right here. Let me see if I still have it because they were interviewing I think someone from Guadalajara. I think it's goddamn Jaime. I was trying to share it, and now I might not have it because there is now talk that possibly some of the some of the Barra 51 members that were there were part of a cartel.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
And to me, that there could be some truth to that because usually the barras in Mexico, yeah, they'll go at it, but it's just fisticuffs, you know. They
Yeah,
just throw down, and it's like they'll take your they'll take your flag or your jersey or your trapo or whatever you have. But that's just it, you know. Right here, it looked like they were just going for the kill.
yeah,
They
it
were just
was,
brutal.
and that's the part that really sticks with me. It wasn't, that this was not a normal scrap. Like this was like barbaric shit, man. I mean, there was literally like people unconscious and they were stripping them and like still beating them to death. Like that to me was like, all right, this is not about a soccer game, bro. This is got to do with some other shit. There's got to be
I,
some
I
some gangs
I
and
have
stuff.
it here. I have it here. The news clip. Enrique Alfaro, the governor of Jalisco State, whose capital is Guadalajara, was asked Monday about local press reports that the brawl may have involved local criminal gangs fighting visitors who purportedly belong to the Jalisco drug cartel. This is in quotations. What it seems to me is that what we saw was not a normal dispute between fans. Alfaro said what happened there was something that looked different. Alfaro, however, refused to comment on whether drug gangs were involved.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, just like the way they were treat, like, I mean, dude, they were going for the kill, man. Like they were trying to murder.
Yeah, and they were stripping them naked,
Yeah,
and then a lot of them they were already beaten and unconscious, and some of these fans were still like attacking. I don't know, man. It takes some. You have to be on one to
you got to
like.
be a sicario to
See,
do that kind of shit, bro.
yeah, to see someone hurt and you already beat them and you still go to hurt them even more.
Yeah, stomping on your
That's
head,
that's some next level stuff, man. I don't know.
hit him with them with like metal, and yeah, it was crazy. It was Saturday was a really sad day. It was like a really really ugly day for Mexican football, and there's just a lot that like went wrong that day. The fact that they still continued to finish that week or that game, like the games that day, like Chivas still played after that. Cruz Azul still played after that. Like the games were not suspended until the pressure from like the fans and the media, and they decided to put a stop to the jornada. Um, but it was pretty bad, and a couple days went by, and I mean we heard everything. We heard everything from, is this going to cost Mexico like a World Cup?
No,
Are
that's
are we
just
gonna like lose our right to host some of the matches in
no.
2026?
Come on.
And there was just like all crazy, theories out there, and this is what should happen, and this is how we should punish them, and Querétaro should be relegated or just dismembered completely, like completely dissolved. In the end, they made the decision to punish the team monetarily, 1.5 million pesos, which is, I don't know how much that is in US dollars, but that's pocket change.
$25. Still-
Yeah, I mean it's really not that much money. Um, they also aren't allowing fans inside the stadium, so Querétaro's not going to have fans for a year, and I think they're not going to have ultras for 3 years. And then they have basically fired the entire front office, and they have to sell the team within a year.
Which I think is already they were already they already have someone that's gonna take over the team. So that doesn't seem like it was a problem. Uh, the whole is banning the directivos, like they're no longer allowed to work
For
in
5 years.
Mexican football. And it could be because of that, Jaime. It could be because of if they're if they cut because this is the thing. Querétaro had something like a big like fight a few years back,
With San Luis.
and that's when they supposedly like hired some firm to do the security, and so that's kind of corrupt, and so this security firm starts hiring Querétaro barra brava. it just it just sounds that just sounds stupid, man. Um, but yeah, and they would give money to that. They would like help that barra a lot. They had a lot of influence over the team. So I think, and if it's because it's tied to like drug, they could have got into the directivos where they were just intimidating them and they were like forced to do things. And I could see that 5 year thing as a way to like, you know, free them up from being exploited.
Yeah.
Because that is a possibility. Um, and people have been saying it's messed up for Adolfo Rios, he's like a GM, former national team player, and he was at the game and he jumped from the palco. He
Yeah,
climbed
he
down.
climbed down and people were like holding him back, telling him not to do it.
Yeah, no, he went to try to calm things down and keep people from getting hurt. Uh, but he ran into the field. I don't think the field was as bad as like
Nah, the field was like where
the
people
tunnels and
people were actually running onto the field to avoid getting killed, man. And there was like a pic of like a family, like mom, dad, and kids, just like running on the field, just trying to like escape this nightmare.
yeah, the little kid, and they said they took the shirt off because they were scared, like so that if the little kid was wearing an Atlas shirt and get his ass whooped. Um, there was another picture of this. He looks like a young man, maybe late teens, early mid 20s, and he's hugging an older dude, maybe like, could be his dad, and he has those thick glasses, like the thick dark glasses, like blind people.
Yeah, they said
And
he was
people were
blind.
saying he wasn't. He tweeted later. He said his, his he was with his grandpa or something that got scared.
Oh,
He said, but nothing happened to us. Like no one targeted them. And I mean, he was an easy target with the old man. So I do. That's why little things like that make me think that.
it was
Um,
it was geared towards a specific group of people,
yeah,
and it was staged. I mean, this was a fucking setup. So
yeah. If you see a lot of the Alas fans that got whooped, man, they straight look like hoodlums, and I'm not saying they deserved it, but the type of guys you wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. They were all like tatted up. They look like they just got out of prison. That's why I tend to believe a bit of what they're saying. With the news article came up with people asking if it's like related to gangs and drug war,
it has to be.
which it can be because they have in the past the cartels used Mexican clubs to launder money. Um, so it's just something part of the country. I mean, it got all the way to Marquez. I don't know if you remember when
Yeah, his money was tied up
he
with
was.
narco stuff.
Yeah, and it could, sometimes it's like you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, they give you a, they offer you a, what is it, a deal that you can't, you know, how does that go? I'm gonna make him a deal that he can't refuse.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens. But yeah, lamentable. But so here is what I mean. I think I have it. I think I have the what FMF decreed will happen because of this. Where is it? Hold on, Jaime. Give me 1 second. Um, which seems like a slap in the hand.
It was a slap
Um,
on the wrist, man. I mean, for what happened,
there you go. Slap on the wrist.
and the fact that they're denying deaths, there was people. I am 100% convinced that people died in that match. I mean, some of the clips look like they were dead, but they haven't confirmed any deaths.
Okay, here it is. This is what the FMF decided. Querétaro will not be unaffiliated because that was at one point supposedly an option to just eliminate them from Liga MX. That's not going to happen. 5 year suspension for the um, Gallo Blanco's front office, the directivos. Um, Querétaro will return to Grupo Caliente. So I guess for what's rest of the season, Grupo Caliente is going to manage them. That's the same grupo that owns Tijuana. Sanción de un año a puerta cerrada jugando como local. So other home games will be without fans for 1 year. Uh, they were sanctioned with 1.5 million pesos. Yeah, like you said, the Gallo, they can have a porra for 3 years. And then for Atlas, their their fan base, uh, they they can't go to any away games
Away
for
games,
6 months.
yeah, half a year.
So that was for Atlas. And then other teams want to do something. Chivas announced this. Did you see what Chivas announced? They
They're
want to play the Clásico and wearing all white.
they're gonna make the they're encouraging fans to to show up wearing white, and Chivas always like in these type of situations. They're always been the first ones to do something, and going up to the Clásico this weekend, everyone's on pins and needles, and I think that's a you know great idea. And I mean, in the last couple of years, we've actually criticized these matches because there wasn't any bad blood between Chivas and America. There was that iconic photo of Peralta you know laughing after the match with his ex teammates, and it's just
Yes.
it's just at the end of the day, it's just a game, nothing to lose your life over, and I don't think there's should be any concern for the Clásico this weekend. Lacron hasn't been really.
Nah.
They also mentioned that they were going to try and
But some I haven't.
implement like face fan ID, like they're going to try and take everyone's photo or something before they get into the stadium.
Yeah. Well, they could do that. That just means more money for the teams. Stuff like this costs money, so that means they have to raise the ticket prices.
There's
And for teams,
there's a bar in my hometown that is notorious for like bar fights, and a lot of violence happens there. And basically now,
yeah,
if you try to get it, if you go in there before you like get seated or anything, like the first thing they do is they ask for your ID and they put you in the system and they take a photo of you. So I can see that happening
damn.
at the stadium. Well, yeah, because that way they can identify you easily. And I mean, we were
But
having
when it's
like,
busy, it must take a cool minute to get inside, huh?
yeah, I mean
On busy nights.
that place is just bad juju, man. Like,
You keep going, Jaime.
No, I don't go there anymore. Nah. But
Have your picture on the wall.
they yeah. The last time I went there we got like jumped. So yeah, not doing that again. But um for like the games, I do think that would be smart. If you're gonna buy a ticket, if you're gonna go into the stadium, like we're gonna have to like take your photo because dude.
But
There was people online after all this went down, and they were like identifying. They went and like doxed people. Like
yeah,
there was do not underestimate like autistic people, bro, because they like there was a Google like Sheets like thing going on that was publicly like going around, and they were like, "Yep, this is this person, this is this person, this is their Facebook, this is where they live, this is their IP
yeah.
address." I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy."
Well, because the pictures they go viral and everybody's watching them, and so it's like someone that lives or that knows you, maybe they hate your ass. That's it, dude. They're gonna be like,
Es el pinche
this is
vecino.
this is so and so, man. Get that dude. Um, yeah, and these guys didn't seem like nice people, so doesn't seem like anyone was going to, vouch for them.
Like there was like a girl, right, with a backpack, and she had a knife, and like her boyfriend like took the knife out and cut the net from the goal.
But to take it home, or
I think I don't know, but yeah, they like literally let him walk in with like knives and stuff. Pretty crazy.
yeah, well, I mean, and the whole security were part of that. They could just put some of those securities, and they tell them, all right, just go in through this door. But with the whole ID stuff, I would just do it with the barra bravas.
Yeah,
If you have, and then you have all other protocols where you, for example, you make them stay. You make them stay like in the seat after the game. They can't exit. They give the other team like, I don't know, it's like 15 minutes to leave. So you
yeah.
have that.
When I was in
You,
Europe, I went to a Champions League match between Roma and Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen were on the road, so they there's a bus, and there was like a separate like entrance for the away fans, and they made sure to like completely like isolate them from the rest of the Italians out there, cuz yeah, it was pretty brutal, and they had to stay in their section. There was a huge fence. There's no way you can get in there. And after the match, all the other fans leave, and they wait for the away fans. Like the away fans are like the last ones to like leave the stadium for their safety.
yeah,
So
yeah, and they make sure it's clear, that it's clear for them. I do think stuff like that could could happen,
but
but this whole talk
yeah,
with the whole
go ahead.
no, just really quick because some people were just getting ahead of themselves, and it's probably people that they just might be new to soccer with the whole FIFA should suspend the Mexico. And it's like, well, you must not be paying attention because if you look around at world soccer, there's happenings like it's going on. You don't see FIFA putting sanctions.
Yeah, and if I'm not
Just in
mistaken,
Cameroon, I
this
think it
is
was
FIFA's not like that's out of their jurisdiction, right? If I'm not mistaken, like
what?
FIFA can't go in there and tell Liga MX what to do, can they?
No, but how it happened recently with FIFA banning Russia from the World Cup, and that was more of a political move. Been hella corrupt, and in the past, the World Cup too, like a brutal dictatorship, as the case of Argentina in '78, Brazil in 1950, even Italy. They hosted the Benito Mussolini's watching the games in the stands. So, you know, it's like giving the Olympics to Nazi Germany with Hitler watching. So FIFA is not exactly saints. That was just with the whole Russia thing. It's just political, you know. They're
Just
tied
money.
to these, um, well, yeah, the sponsors, you know, like the Mastercard and all that, and they put pressure, and then FIFA's like, all right, fuck it, we're not gonna lose money. You're out, you're out, you know, and so because of that, though, because FIFA banned Russia, you had people now saying, oh, they should do Mexico, you know, ban Mexico because of what happened. And it's just kind of stupid way of thinking. Like, you know, the incompetence of one stadium punished the whole country. You
Oh,
know, if this was a weekly thing, then
I
yeah, you know,
I think the logic behind it, because I was gonna ask you this, like, do you feel like the punishment fits the crime? I personally think that, like, for the fact that there were deaths, the fact that it was like pretty brutal, I think that the actual punishment was pretty light. I thought it was gonna be more severe. But I think like the logic behind like punishing Mexico as a country, even potentially like banning them from the World Cup, I think it stems from the fact that, you know, if you're looking at this and you're not like you don't follow Liga MX, you're just watching this as a average bystander. Like people that aren't even into soccer saw this and they're like, what the fuck's going on in Mexico, right? So I mean, that's just like your first impression of like Mexico and soccer in Mexico and the fact that they're going to be hosting the World Cup in 2026. Like you do not want to be associated with that. So I could see why people were like, "Yep, you got to like take them away from, having the rights of hosting because how can you guarantee someone's safety when there's literally people stomping on your head and like killing you? You know what I mean? I think that's like where they got to that logic.
yeah,
But I do agree, like it
it,
it, it wasn't. I don't think banning Mexico from the World Cup is. I don't think that's fair.
well, you know, in '86, uh, FIFA had awarded the World Cup to Colombia. That was the height of their cartel stuff. I
In
mean, they were still going
'86,
to host it. Yes, '86, the World Cup was for Colombia.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, sir. The host was gonna be Colombia, and they're at the height. You know, you're watching Narcos and whatnot. That's the height of all that stuff going on, man. That's some heavy violence. And Colombia drops off at the end. They couldn't, you know, you gotta meet certain stuff, criteria of hotels and transportation and stadiums and whatnot. So Colombia was like, yeah, we can't, you know, get all of this stuff. So they drop off. Mexico's like, we got this, you know. FIFA was like, all right, handle it. And
Huh.
that's when Mexico had an earthquake. Mexico City, maximum earthquake, dude, leveled the half of the city.
Wow.
They um and they had um I don't want to mix because
It's
Venice. Yeah, I think it was the
I'm
no because
I'm reading it. It says Colombia was originally
there was
chosen as hosts in 1974, but due to economic reasons, they were not able to and resigned. Wow.
in '74.
hmm
Jaime.
like they made the decision to host the '86 in 1974.
Oh, okay. So they had all that time.
Uh huh.
Usually now it's just for like eight. You said 8 years.
Yeah.
I think it's 8 years. So yeah, that makes sense. Kind of. It's about the same. That was more. But yeah, see, they had all that time and they couldn't handle it. Um. Yeah, no, I think it was for the 70 World Cup. So Mexico hosts the 70 World Cup. But before that, because they hosted the Olympics in 68. So around that time was the whole, some students protesting where they got, a lot of them got killed in the cover up. So I mean, we could go stuff that happens in countries and big tragic,
Yeah.
and FIFA's never really like taken the World Cup. I mean, Cameroon, I think there's civil war going on right now, and they hosted the African Nations Cup, and they had a for their opening game. There was like a lot of people died. It was like a stampede to get in the stadium.
Mm.
There's people killed. I mean, you didn't hear FIFA say anything. I
Yeah.
didn't hear,
Even
you
recently
know,
with the
and so yeah,
Euros in England, there was a lot of hooliganism. A lot of rioting and fights, and that was in the year that was like literally a year
yeah,
ago.
yeah, we're gonna man. I mean, Qatar is the other one. They're hosting, and they're getting drilled for the slave labor they're using to build the stadium. Can Google it, put Qatar World Cup slave labor. You'll see up, and they've been there for years. Not just here. It's going back for find all type of stories of how people that go work there, they take your visa, and so you can't get out of the country, and so then you're sort of held hostage. And if like your employer, they could choose not to pay you or pay you less, and you're at, you know, and you're like, all right, well, I don't want to work no more. You just can't leave, you know. There's a lot of effed up stuff going on all over. So I do think some of these fans are a little bit harsh. As I was judged by that, then start going team by team, man. You're gonna end up with a World Cup with like half
Canada,
teams.
Switzerland. It's like the only friendly, no beef with anybody.
Than anything bad. But yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff happening, and that's where I don't agree with FIFA taking the because you're punishing the fans. A lot of them have nothing to do with what's going on, and you're preventing them from, a lot of these are suffering as well, and you're keeping them from having some type of joy.
Yeah, I think for Querétaro, um, them not having fans for a year, I'm sure that's gonna hurt them financially, and we'll see who ends up buying the franchise.
Yeah, some dude was already announced. I didn't pay too much attention, so but because it hasn't been made official, but already in the picture, it seems to have been announced already. But if not, I guess already like if it's going back to them, pretty sure they could handle the team. If not, Higuera could use that franchise to put Morelia back into first division.
Yeah, and you look at Liga de Expansión, and I'm sure there's a few teams that would gladly take it at the spot. Morelia being one of them, currently in second place. Mineros de Zacatecas, they're in first place. I think those are there. There are some rules though. The team that gets promoted has to have, I think, like 20,000 seats. That's like the minimum. So there's only a handful of teams in the expansion that are that can even meet those qualifications. So
Yeah, they don't want to have the same problems as they did with like what was this Puebla team? They were
Lobos WAP.
Lobos Buap, you know. Yeah, where they just were having they couldn't even get a TV contract, which is sad. But yeah, they were having problems just paying players, which was the whole thing with Veracruz, right? They didn't pay players for like half a year or something. Ridiculous. So they don't want to go through some. Um, so that's why they want to, make sure that whoever goes up, they could at least meet all those requirements. But
Yeah.
there are like pretty historic Irapuato, Atlante. It could,
Leones Negros. Celaya.
shouldn't have. Not historic. They're a small team. Uh, but that just shows that why why there's this whole push to try to do something with MLS that comes down to investors. There's just none or very few that want to put money into Liga MX.
Especially now. after that after that shit show, like you're gonna have less and less people wanting to throw money into Liga MX, man, when you got people dying on the field. Like it's just not attractive for foreign investment. But
Yeah, originally you could use something like this to like raise ticket prices and do things, but man, you're talking about Max. There's just the money's not there. You raise ticket prices, the majority of your fans, and you're just playing stadiums. But what happened in England, back in the 90s, when they did the whole restructuring and the English league turned into the Premier League, and they the ticket prices just increased like tenfold. Like the stadiums back then, you could like for very cheap, you could go to the section that didn't have seats,
like the standing room or something? Or
like kind of like benches,
all the benches, yeah.
kind of like
Like the Rose Bowl?
yeah, but people would stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but does the Rose Bowl still have that?
It's been a
Man, I
couple
haven't
years.
been there in a while.
Mexico hasn't had any moleros there in a while, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, but they had like standing room and not exactly seats, just like thing and but then going back once they did that whole change and then they had the deals with the Sky when they sold the package to the league, and then all these their stadiums just started becoming these first world, fancy stadiums, and they just priced out all the hooligans.
Yeah. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah,
if you wanna
that won't happen in Mex, and that that's why it's the push for MLS, and this is just gonna make that push even stronger. Some people are saying, "Oh, that MLS." Yeah, it's not like they have to send their fans to Mex to watch games. They'll just watch them on TV. The money is gonna be made over here through the TV and even the gates over here. Which I mean, I think you were saying it's going bad for the Mex teams.
yeah, the gap has closed. No, I'm kidding. Uh it's been pretty bad. We had Conca Champions return this week, and it started off with a terrible, terrible defeat for Leon yesterday in Seattle. They lost 3-0. Pretty big defeat there. And then it continued today with Pumas not being able to handle the snow over there in New England. And they also lost 3-0. And then the only silver lining was Cruz Azul at home were able to salvage a 1-0 victory over Montreal. Montreal had beaten Santos in the previous round 3-0. And that was you know, the reason why Caixinha got fired. But Cruz Azul, I was actually watching that match before our episode, and They had plenty of opportunities. They missed a bunch. Antuna was playing like a man possessed, like a man who wants to make the World Cup roster, and he was the only one that scored today. And Cruz Azul, they're gonna be like the only Mexican club I think after this quarterfinal. I don't see Leon or Pumas turning things around. 3-0, that's a tough scoreline.
Yeah, that is, man.
And I said it before. I said before this tournament kicked off, like, honestly, like none of these teams convinced me. I was like, this might be the first time in a long time, that a Mexican club doesn't win the Champions League.
Yeah, it's just, and I think that's what tournament needs. Um, to an extent, because a lot of Mexican fans don't really take it as serious. You start getting your ass handed to you, and after a while, you don't have excuses. I know, because there's this hard push, that, this to discredit, which I get it, but at the same time, it's like this is still our tournament, man. You're calling it trash.
It's all
League's
we
not gonna
have. It's
improve.
it's all we have,
You know,
okay? It's like the only thing that
you
we
still have to
have.
cultivate it and make it grow. Yeah, but let's say you have a garden in the back, and that's your fruits and veggies, and you're like, oh, this is,
Yeah.
and it's gonna stay trash. But if you work on it, eventually it'll get better. And that's been my thing, where it's like I get it that the good, but there's no reason that they can't improve and become. But I do think they have to an extent. A lot of these tournaments compared to what they were before. They are a bit better. Of course, there's still more, but I mean, a ver qué. it's still, it's still some time. It's still
Yeah.
some time. A ver qué, Jaime. Never know.
We'll see what happens. I mean, things just got a lot more interesting, with these results. I'm definitely going to be interested to see how these teams respond in the second leg, you know, and Leon and Pumas' defense, both of those games were road games, so they'll be able to close out at home. And if I'm not mistaken, they got rid of the away goal rule, so they're I think they have a chance.
Didn't it come after doble jornada? Difficult too for like these Mexican teams that are
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah, we had a lot of football in a short time span. Liga MX's results, match week 9, the games that weren't postponed. Toluca handled business against Necaxa, so a pretty good win for Nacho Ambriz. They got Toluca in 7th place right now after that. And Necaxa, with the American investment, they're just outside the repechaje zone in 13th position. We also had Chivas with a surprising result at home, taking care of business after a disappointing draw with San Luis midweek. They were able to get the victory. Jota Macias with a golazo. And that was a big, big victory for Chivas on Saturday. It's like a little bit of
yeah, it was, man, and
a
good to
glimmer
see
of
JJ
hope.
Mack.
Yeah.
J- they, it's funny, and it came right after Leaño, man. He was getting killed in Twitter, man. All these memes popping up were just hella funny.
I don't know who
Maybe that's
had
what he
these.
needed.
Somebody just had these in a folder, bro. Just
And
waiting.
probably his Insta, dude.
Maybe, I don't
It could have
know.
been his Instagram.
All I know is this whoever
Seems
whoever
like
started this, man, they just had so many embarrassing photos of him.
yeah. But yeah, let's see how he does, man. He's going into back-to-back Clásicos, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it? What is it? Is it just? America first, right?
We got America on Saturday at 7 p.m. and then
Which,
that's a home game.
which,
And then
and
Atlas.
you, well,
Uh,
you know what? He couldn't have hoped for a better time to face them. Like right after they sacked their coach, the coach that was the intern that's supposed to take over doesn't. They have some other guy, I think, from the youth teams. I don't know where they brought him from. Already lost against Monterrey
that's right.
under Buse. So Buse got his first win, helping Chivas there already, sending a more injured. And so yeah, I do think Chivas should be favorites, man. Just because I'm just coming from bad to worse.
I think that's fair. I mean, they're in last place right now. They're in a dark time right now. They don't have a coach. Chivas are at home. I think this would be a very good opportunity for Chivas to, you know, just bury them and give us a little bit of hope. Just give us something a little bit to brag about.
Yeah, it just be for him, having that match, because then the Atlas would be pretty tough. That would be a difficult one right there. But I mean, if he could start with getting some points, he could, guarantee some Liguilla soccer. Far for himself, really, really far. High, I mean, really, really high.
You know, it's crazy.
There's winning every trophy out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how quickly the narrative changes. I mean, this was a coach that after the 2-0 lead against Puebla ended up losing that match, and then the draw against San Luis, you're like, oh, this guy's on his last legs, you know. Then you get a victory against Santos. Maybe you string up a win against America and Atlas, and all of a sudden, you know, it's champagne time all over again. But that's just how it is, you know. That's just how fickle the fans are, and you know that's just how it goes.
Yeah, fans, they are very fickle. They were more harsh with I felt, but what's done is done. I do think this could be a lifeline for Leaño if he gets that win over America. I do think it would it would see him through, man. It would see him through all the way to the end of the
Season,
season.
yeah, and the continued.
Will did we talk about the rumors here, Jaime? The
What
Chiva
rumor?
rumors, the latest from the Chief
No.
that that the Puebla coach La Carmon will be headed to Chivas for next season.
Yeah, Rafael Ramos, right? It was the one that said that. I don't know how much truth I
There's
see in
another
that.
section. There's another section of reporters. Some of them are claiming America, and for me, it's like I just don't see America waiting the whole season. Coach that hasn't done anything in Liga. He's top results, but he hasn't won anything. And if you go to America to win, so you want someone with a track record.
Yeah,
So I just don't see that.
I
That
agree.
he could be a candidate, perhaps, but not that they would wait. But there are some reporters on Twitter that have said that. I don't buy it. Rafa Ramos is another going on for a good 40 years, and I've listened. Uh, he has his own show in the mornings in other areas, but LA is, I think it's 13:30. But he has like he seems to have some really good connection to Guadalajara, man, and his Guadalajara, not rumors, when he's gotten like info, and he said it. I'm getting this from my fuentecita from back there, dude. He's been 80% spot on, um, and I think one of them works for goddamn, what's this newspaper? If you're a Chiva fans, you want paper, and it's not free. I haven't even checked how much it cost. Goddamn, I
Soccer mania.
remember. But it's like a Jalisco, Guadalajara based newspaper.
Oh, I see.
It starts with a C. I can't remember,
Extra
but
cancha or no?
that one has no. Um, you just have to search it. Um, but that one does really good reporting on Chivas, and you'll get like mad info on them, all type of crazy shit. Um, this dude has gotten info on the goats since way back, man, and I found him to be always pretty spot on. And so what he got from his info from his sources was that Tebasteca is, so it's not just the coach, it's because Tebasteca will um I guess transmit the Chiva games. So it's tied to the TV deal.
Hmm.
And Tebasteca, I guess they must have some type of control on Puebla right now. Watching that team.
What was that?
Did you know about that, Jaime?
What's that?
Tebasteca, are they any really to the club? Are they like, because
To
they managed Morelia, and then they had Morelia, and they had like a percentage of Atlas. I don't know if they were. Um, oh, here it is.
tomará control de
This is from
Puebla.
this is from 2021. Tebasteca quiere deshacerse del Puebla. Huh. So I guess they've been financing it.
El club Puebla no es de TV
Guess
Azteca,
they.
sin embargo, tendrá un control administrativo. I don't know how old this article is, though. It might be pretty old.
Oh yeah, you have to find it. I have one from January 2021. And it says Tebasteca wants to, they're trying to sell Puebla.
I didn't even know they were involved with.
Yeah, Tebasteca. 'Cause I mean, I didn't know they were involved with Morelia. Or I mean, no, I knew Morelia. I didn't know they were involved with Atlas, which they are, but just like to a smaller degree.
What I can tell you about Puebla is they continue to win. They beat Cruz Azul, and they're still in first place. 21 points, no defeats, and obviously, La Carmon is he's the best coach in the league right now, and I don't know what this will look like once Liga starts. But if he can go on a deep run with Puebla, I mean, you pretty much auditioned for any club within Mexico.
Check it out. 2019. Chelis reveló que TV Azteca tomaba las decisiones en Puebla. So I think they might have some type of contract where they finance the club. So I do think if they don't own it, they're at least making some tough decisions. And I could see it if they're trying to get some type of exclusive with Chivas, and they could probably guarantee some players, man.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
3 or 4 players, and we're back in business, dude. Uh, I mean, cause if dude, if Azteca lands Chivas exclusive, they're exclusive. They're not exclusive right now, man. Just to say, just like some sucia, it's fucking everybody's getting a turn. But if it's true, man, it sucks, but it's true. But if they could just be exclusive to one, I mean, this club, dude, the ratings were 11 million. That's just really high numbers, 11 million. Um, if they get that, they could. I know, I'm pretty sure they're thinking they could. And Chivas, well, if they could see like maybe they can't up that much money, but if they could like throw in a coach and have some players from Puebla, maybe some Chaflas, who knows? Right now, during these harsh times, I don't think uh, Chivas fans will care if they get an Atlas player or two. So yeah, that's worth keeping tabs on, Jaime. We'll see what happens as
We'll
we
see
get,
what happens.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this league plays out. I know everyone's on Puebla right now because they're in first place, but they don't really have that much experience. And that's going to come into play once we get into the playoffs. But yeah, I mean the game to look out for this weekend is going to be El Clásico Chivas America. Now, if you're not vested in either one of those clubs, you might be looking at that might be the game to avoid because America's in last place. You have a much more appealing match between Cruz Azul and Pumas, both from the same city. They're both pretty close on the league table. Pumas has 11 points, Cruz Azul has 14. So we'll see how it goes for them. And we also have León Tigres. But I don't think León are in a good spot right now.
be, think they're doing too good. Tigres,
I think losing 3-0 might put a damper on things. It's a long plane ride home.
yeah.
What other I feel like we covered a lot today. I mean, there a lot happened, but
A lot did happen, yes, sir.
but off the top of my head, I think those are the main ones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we covered pretty. We have Clásico coming, and then we talked a little bit about Selección at the beginning, because that's what, like, in 2 weeks, big game against the U.S.
Yeah, that's right. USA versus Mexico at the end of March. I think it's on the 24th.
Well, and we'll make really quick because there's a group of fans that are like upset with FMF handled at Querétaro, that they're calling the chance back, and they're saying so that Mexico could get found, like hurt FMF,
I
hit
heard
them where it
about that.
hurts them the most in their.
What a
And
stupid way
there
to
was even some,
rationalize that.
yeah, yeah, it's yeah, let's hurt the national team because of what's going on over here. It is dumb, and I'm sure FMF, have something in place to make sure that, because I mean, I could see Mex getting sanctioned hard, you know, in that game. And we talked about it before, Jaime. A lot of the pressure's coming from the sponsor,
Yeah,
that are here in the U.S. and they're playing the U.S. Obviously, the spotlight's gonna be on. Um, I don't know why FMF is dumb enough to host that game at a state. They should have gone to some other venue and not worry of this BS. But I don't know, man. Les gusta sufrir. But on that note, there's already people hoping Bielsa would make that trip since he's not, in England. I don't know. That's
man,
for thinking.
you're over here pulling
I
at
don't know if he
straws,
would
man.
even. And
There's I don't think BSL's ever gonna come back to Mexico. Uh, Yeah, personally, I think
well, if he wanted to,
I think that Mexico should bring in a domestic coach eventually because no one's ever won the World Cup
that
with
Mexico
a
what?
foreigner. Nope.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So,
true.
but
Has yet to happen.
right now the crop of Mexican managers, there's just not too many to choose from. But we'll see. Uh, they did do like a little short interview with Nicolas Larcamon, and he was, he basically mentioned or threw it out there that he aspires to be eventually one day the coach of the national team. What do you think about that?
Hmm. No, I do. I do think that's for the majority of coaches. That's one of their goals. Coaching national team. Did he say Mexico or did he say
Yeah,
Argentina
he
or
said
what?
Mexico.
Did he just say national team or did he say?
No, he said Mexico.
Yeah, well, I guess he knows he has. Yeah, because I guess he knows his. Argentina's pretty difficult. It's politics. So I guess he knows to be a padrinado. And this is the guy that had to start in Venezuela, so that shows where he's coming from. So, but I mean, I think if he proves his worth, he wins the league, playing like that with the team and or other teams. I mean, well, you know,
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he has that mindset, it's pretty. I mean, it's nice to see someone ambitious like that, kind of like me, like Michele Año. But um, you know, I think he likes the country. He likes Mexico, and he knows, man. Like it really doesn't take much for you to get noticed. Like if you can have a very good, consistent, successful team, especially a team of nobodies. Like nobody on Puebla is like a star player. So if he can do that with that kind of club, with that kind of payroll, like imagine the things he can do for, a Chivas team or an America team or, a big club. And then you do that and then you find success there. And then all of a sudden, you're a candidate for the national team. But I think he has a long way to go because we have a tendency to gas people up when they're having a great season, but I think we pull the trigger on them too soon, and then you end up realizing that they're pretty much just like an average person, but they were just performing above average for just that little short.
yeah,
I mean that's what happened with Necaxa and Chivas. We spent all this money on Alexis Peña, Chicote, and Canelo because they had one great season, and their careers with Chivas have been. I mean, Canelo gets the most minutes out of all three of them. Alexis Peña got removed from the team because of that scandal, and Chicote he's been non-existent. So it just goes to show, man, like you get fooled by the first, you gotta give them time. You gotta prove yourself consistently.
yeah, agreed. No, agreed, man, definitely. I think, but yeah, I think it's still too early for this dude. You know, I would I would give him a little bit more time before I candidatearlo. But I think a lot of these guys they see how much they're welcome in Mexico. Because it's one of the leagues that is the most open arms when it comes to when you bring in foreign players, coaches. Other leagues are very demanding. If you're coming from abroad, they're I think in Mex we're the opposite. If you're Mexican, we want more. If you come from, we're like, okay, yeah, sort of like we kind of put the foreigner, not every, but at least certain on a pedestal. You come from a World Cup winning country, all right, you must know what you're doing. Um, but yeah, because I mean, look how some of get treated when they go abroad. Nacho had what, like months, and so yeah, it's they see that in Meg, them end up appreciating it, and they a lot of them will end up staying in Mexico. Well, I wonder how many have stayed. That would be like I would like to know, man. I know it's like in the seriously, like it's going back to maybe the 80s when they started bringing in more. I don't know how many they had in the 70s, 80s, 90s, but how many of these players stayed behind and just stayed in Mexico? Like Saguinho, right? His dad stayed, Sage, Brazilian, but played. Same with the Dos Santos, and the list goes on of
What's the
a lot of
story
players
with
that came from abroad. And
what's the story with Tuca Ferretti? Because he's not Mexican.
no, but he stayed. He played at Pumas, and he just stayed in the country. Wait, was it? And I'm saying Pumas because that's where he won. He beat America. Uh,
It
I think it was in
says
'91.
in
He
90,
scores from outside.
97 he joined Atlas for like a year, and then he went to Pumas and spent most of his career there. Wow.
So where was he? '87.
1977 at Atlas, 1978 at Pumas, all the way
Oh yeah.
all the way to 1985. He went to Toros Nesa, he went to Monterrey, then he spent some time at Toluca, and then back at Pumas.
Yeah, '91. That was his last game. He scores from outside the box and they win. They uh, and then he became a coach right away. He coached Pumas right the next season. So he went from but I mean, he got to do this career because he was playing in Brazil about 6 years. He's from '77 to '91. I'm not good at math. Jaime, how much is that? Like almost 20, something like that.
You said 77 to 1991?
90.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a little bit under. It's like 14 years.
yeah. So I mean, double what he had played. Right away, he has a job, dude. He has a job. You know, Pumas in '91, in '93, he's with Selección. Gets to do the World Cup as like a, like uh, what is it, assistant coach. Gets to coach Chivas right away in '96. When he wins a campeonato with Chivas. He was at Tigres and Toluca, and then he ends up at Tigres. But I mean, dude, but this guy has been, you know, in Mex so long, but they just end up liking the country. But there's a lot, dude. There's a lot of players and coaches. A lot of them we don't even hear about. They just stayed to live in Mexico.
I feel like Gignac is also going to be one of those lifers.
You
He's he's just going to
he seems
spend.
to really like it.
Yeah,
I could see him coming back often. If not, you know, he could live half and half. But I do think Tigres might offer him a job, like once he's more, any type of job from coach to GM. I think he's gonna have, and I think he knows that where he's like he can maintain that type of like fame, because he's like very popular and this kind of status at Tigres. So yeah, I could see him staying. Maybe travel every now and then, but I could see him staying a longer time after he's no longer playing.
absolutely. Maybe be a pundit on TV one day.
Oh, dude, that dude have all these jobs lined up.
For sure. So yeah, Chivas and America will have a clásico without colors on Saturday. We'll see if there's more news that unravels from the incident in the Querétaro Atlas match. I'm sure more and more people will come forward as things go on. There was an article I read that they've already caught like 10 people. They got 10 people in custody. So we'll see if more arrests happen. And yeah, we'll keep you guys posted. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up episode 326?
Yeah, I wouldn't. If you were worried Mexico could lose or be booted from the World Cup because of the stadium incident, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Be more worried about that chant. That's where the concern should be.
Yeah, I don't know why wishing like bad on the national team. uh, you think things are gonna change, but things won't change, and then we're just gonna miss out on a World Cup. That's just the reality of it. There's not gonna be no groundbreaking revolution if we don't make the World Cup, or there's not gonna be like a front office change. So just support the team the way you can without fists, obviously. But want to thank everyone for their support. Make sure to catch us on Twitter, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Hour and a half, not bad.